So this last weekend, I witnessed some amazing play, arguably some of the most consistent high-level play I've ever seen through my own eyes real time, all at our ProQuest event at Gongaii Games in Portland, Oregon, USA. Now, as you're well aware, I've done many of these type of events at this point, all with great players, but this one, wow. Now, I want to be fair, there may have been some observational bias given that I had a lot of time to observe versus normally doing the deck check supports, managing logistics, answering questions, and not having to do all that while also managing a live stream. But regardless of bias or not, I was pretty impressed. And what's more is I walked away energized, which I really, really needed. See, there were some very big headwinds headed into this event, and Saturday helped me at a personal level to kind of realign and get more in a positive space. Because yes, the play was top notch, but also there was just a bunch of people who were happy to be there. Now, sure, being ultra competitive and wanting to win, but the atmosphere far exceeded what I thought I might have been walking into that weekend. So today, let's recap the event, first, of course, from a tactical standpoint, and then I'll finish with my perspective of the event, the challenges we faced, and ultimately why Saturday was exactly what I needed to remind me of why I do what I do. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
All right, we're good?
Yep.
All right, let's see. All right, there's a lot of good hits. There's a lot.
Could be anything, even Code of Frost.
It could be a boat.
Oh, please don't put that energy on me, man. Coil hand would be sick.
Something for Enigma, maybe?
I don't know if there is any Enigma ones.
Oh,
to be honest.
that might be fair.
Warp Rally another option?
Okay.
Oh, the suspense.
Oh no! Oh, my commoner dash deck is going hard.
Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. And thanks for tuning in today for a recap of our ProQuest London event last Saturday at Gongaii Games in Portland, Oregon, USA. I TO'd the event. We had 28 players show up for that. And as I mentioned in the intro, I was pretty impressed with some of the top-notch play. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to first start out with, of course, the tactical rundown, give you all the details, the who's, the what's, and then I want to talk about some challenges leading into the event, both within current Fab overall, as well as our direct community, and kind of what I took from that and what it meant to me personally. Now, as we go through this, I'm going to go ahead and throw up, you know how we do this, right? I throw up a slideshow so we can enjoy, kind of being there with the folks, or at least what I took while we were there with the folks. Right now, so you actually see the winner playing Steven Goddard. That's right. And yes, the winner overall was Sean Burke on Aurora. I do have to say I was very impressed with Sean. So as many of you know, I've been trying to learn how to do Aurora. I think I'm good, not great. But he made some play lines that they were awesome. I was like watching him play, and I'm like, well, that was an interesting choice. And then the next turn I'd be like, oh, now I understand. I get it. So extremely impressed. And as you can see, every interaction I had, super positive, looks super happy just to be there and living life and playing Fab. And I thought it was pretty awesome. So congratulations, Sean, for taking it down and for the ProQuest victory on Aurora, earning your name on the board whenever she does go, which will probably not soon, but it'll probably be at some point in the future. So yeah, that's that. And congratulations. Now, before we go into the rest of this, there are three shout outs I need to make. The first of which, of course, is to Gongaii Games in Portland, Oregon. Thank you for continuing to be a great place for us to go play. You're a phenomenal partner for me to work with. And just want to remind everybody out there, right, that it is the LGS that I go to. You can use Commando 10 at checkout, by the way, for 10% off your purchase, which really helps lower it. I get no money from that, but it does help support my LGS. And keep the lights on and all that good stuff at a brick and mortar store. Okay. The second one I really need to give out to is to my judges. So this is the first event ever to which I've hired two judges. We had a head judge who was Scott. Then we hired a floor judge. And first off, having two judges really took, I had a ton more time than I normally do, right? So that was pretty awesome. But Scott, if you have not, if everybody in the Pacific Northwest at this point, I believe most people, I should say, in the Pacific Northwest who play Flesh and Blood know who Scott is. I know he's not only an awesome individual personally, but his level of professionalism when he judges is just crazy. And you can see them right there, right? That's both our judges. But Scott is just incredibly impressive. So if you are looking for a great judge, because why wouldn't you be looking for a great judge? Right? If you're looking for a judge, you should go hire Scott. He is amazing. Please don't hire him the weekend that I want to hire him. If you could do that, that'd be great. But otherwise, you should go hire him. And I would go in so far. I don't know what he does professionally, but I would go so much as to write him a character reference if he needed one. Right? I mean, he's that good of a dude and very impressive in just the way that he conducts everything. So, Scott, thank you, and keep your weekends open whenever I need you. That would be great. The third shout out I need to give is to local boy Archer Taylor. Now, Archer has been on this cast before. We talk about him all the time. That's the local boy joke. Archer is an amazing individual, right? So not only is he a phenomenal Flesh and Blood player, but whenever I watch him play, I have fun, right? He sits there and he's not your typical card gamer, and I love it. People who play him have fun, and the interactions are great. And if everyone who came to these events was like Archer, TCGs would have way, way, way more people in them, right? And Archer, you're awesome. Right. Thank you for being you. You're super smart, super great player, but also really fun to be around. So thank you. All right. So as I mentioned, there were 28 players in the overall field. So let's go ahead through the main field breakdown. Now, we had 5 Viserais, the most represented hero. We had 4 Auroras, 3 Azaleas, 2 Enigmas, 2 Boltyns, and then that's right, one-ofs of all the rest. Okay. So we had 17 represented heroes. We had 12 of them that were one-ofs. So Verdansk, Kano. We had an IO, an IE. We had an Acilio, and fun point on the Acilio. Acilio was actually at the top table in round 5, right? So 28 players, 5 rounds of Swiss. That's how math works. On the top table, did not end up making top cut, but that was a very interesting deck, and again, very good play there as well. We had an armed Kayo, Zen, Dorinthea, my girl. I actually didn't get to see any of the games played with Dorinthea. We had Levia. We had a Vincent. I was surprised. Vincent seemed pretty good. I was surprised there weren't more, is what I'm saying. Seemed pretty good, but then Viserai is pretty good too. Then we had Steven Goddard, my boy, on Kassai, Golden Kassai. Okay. So again, I thought that was pretty impressive across the 28 players to have 17 heroes represented. That's pretty good. Now, one thing you may be saying is like, well, Andrew, a lot of these in the past, you've been up to like 50, 60, and that is true. 28 was a little disappointing, but kind of as I mentioned earlier, I think it might have helped the event in a way. So we'll talk about that here in a bit. Okay. So let's go ahead into the top 8 bracket. So after 5 rounds of Swiss, we had obviously the 8 players. You can see them here, but we'll pop back and forth between that and the bracket. So looking at the top 8 here, we do have on the leftmost, we have Archer Taylor. The awesome face with a thumbs up, which replicates his champion photo, was Sean Burke. We have Justin Salmon there in the blue with the pink hair, which is so fitting for Aurora. We have super tall Jude there, exceeding the height of the Gongaii sign, Arthur Mills, and then we have Stephen Murphy there on the far right. Mint Carroll is in the front, and then Corwin Benton, our Kano player, down with the thumbs up on the front. So congratulations to all of you folks for making top 8. Justin Salmon with the purple hair, of course, was on Prism. Oh, kidding, that's a joke. Poor Justin's probably so tired of me making that joke, but I can't think of him not as a Prism player. He was on Aurora at the top seed, going 5-0 on the day. Second place was Archer Taylor on Enigma. This was kind of more of a balls to the wall Enigma, if you will. It was not the CYB version. But in third place, we had Jude Cornett. You can see Jude here, right, actually. Jude is arguably one of the best players in Portland. I mean, that's not even... Arguably one of the best is not true because he's arguably the best, right? I mean, he's an amazing, amazing player. Saying the best in Portland is a tough one, but what I'm trying to say here is Jude is an amazing player. So him being in third place is not surprising at all. Also, he was on Enigma as well, but this was CYB Enigma. He made some really smart tech choices, kind of expecting what I believe to be the field that he was believing to see, and it really worked well. Now, we'll kind of skip ahead here. He ran up against Archer in the semis, and Archer just plowed through him because Enigma versus Enigma, if you've got one that's going, right, you can't keep your board state. So that was a rough go for him. But in terms of what Jude did to tech for the field at large, it was very, very, very intelligent. Fourth place was Sean Burke. You already know the story there. Plowed through, ended up winning the whole thing. Again, very impressed with his play through the weekend. And fifth was Stephen Murphy. So Stephen, I love you, Stephen. I was kind of joking with you before the tournament. He should have a shirt. If you know Stephen, he should have a shirt that says Pile of Rune Chants or something on it. So I've always known him as like the OTK rune chant person. He's done it with, like, he used to do it with Briar. Anyway, you get the point. He's always got these weird, crazy builds, and he's a very, very creative player. And I really appreciate Steven and what he brings to the table, both figuratively and literally. Okay. 6th place, we had Arthur Mills. No surprise there. No stranger to not only the channel, but the top tables all around the Pacific Northwest. Always on Azalea. No shocker there. 7th place was Corwin Benton on Kano. This was really cool. I got to meet Corwin and his father. That was pretty cool, getting to meet both of you. Corwin had some pretty good play throughout the day. I mean, piloting Kano through a tournament is not easy, right? You got to be able to do mathy maths and all that stuff to your setups. So shout out to Corwin. And in 8th place, we had Mint, another no stranger to this channel, of course, on Dash.io, right? I like how people are getting branded with their heroes, because that's what we're supposed to do in this game. And, you know, congratulations, Mint. So going into the semis, again, you can all see the breakdown there. We knew that the finals was going to be Aurora Enigma, just with the way that the bracket worked out, because we had Justin and Sean on Aurora in a face-off, and then we had Archer and Jude in a face-off for Enigma. Now, when I saw the two Enigmas got paired together, remember this is untimed in Top Cut, and I was like, oh God, we're going to be here till 11 o'clock. And that game actually finished before the Aurora game did, true story. So that was kind of cool that we didn't end up burning all that time. And then Sean, Burke, and Archer in the final, and Sean ended up edging it out. Now, I'm skipping over a lot there, but Sean ended up, this was a tough match for Archer to begin with, right? Let's be clear. But what Sean ended up stringing together as the kill shot was just this crazy, crazy, stupid turn. But Archer actually helped him, right? So my favorite quote of the day, again, from Archer, he's like, "Phantasmaclasm giveth, and Phantasmaclasm taketh away." What he did is he played Phantasmaclasm, bottomed a card, and then Sean, who had Channel Lightning on the table, draws into another one, has Arc Lightning in Arsenal. And so she wrote, right? It ended up being, again, you can see the photo across the screen at this point. It got pretty dirty. The chain had actually been broken and reopened at this point. There's a snatch on the table. We're talking dual card draw, triple card draw with the snatch. It was a gem to watch, and that was definitely the kill shot. And again, that's why you got to love someone like Archer. They're just laughing about it at the time, because what are you going to do? And I absolutely freaking appreciate that. So again, congratulations, Sean, on this. I was really impressed with your play over the weekend. I know I've said that several times, but it's because it's just flat out true. So that's the tactics of the event. Again, and like I said, I had a really good time, and I think the fact that I was able to enjoy and observe so much in the tournament was important. By the way, you see right there, that was my administrative assistant who helped me for the first couple. His mother had a conflict, so he came and he likes to come help me set up for the tournaments, and he actually does a pretty good job these days. So shout out to Hulk, my administrative assistant. Now, as I mentioned, kind of going into this, that there was some headwinds going into the event. So the first biggest headwind we had was up until the week prior, I only had 13 people pre-registered for the event. So I was really freaked out that I wasn't going to be able to pay the judges and all stuff. I mean, obviously we'd committed the judges money, they were going to get paid, to be clear here, right? But how are we going to do this, right, was the question. Now, in the end, as I mentioned, we got 28, which, if I'm being honest, was pretty disappointing, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it was disappointing because I usually expect 50, 60 players, right? And like I said, I do think it helped the event, the positivity of the event. So I think there's some learning there. But I really wanted to give a shout out to, if you're watching and you pre-registered for the event, I really want to thank you, not just for my event, but for others' event, because when you pre-register, it really helps stores kind of right-size their event, get the right judging on board. And right, you don't hire a judge 2 days beforehand. You hire a judge weeks and weeks beforehand, and you figure out sizing. Anyway, you get it, right? Help your stores out, right? Help your stores to be successful. Okay, especially because a lot of them got to go rent places, so especially for these large tournaments. Now, in terms of the size, there's an excellent chance going forward that I will probably be trying to cap my event at 32. Now, that's a big thing for me to say, because the very first ProQuest might have been an RTN. I don't remember what was ProQuest or RTN, but the very first large event that I was able to run, I capped at 32, and it had been up for months, and it finally capped out. And the minute it capped out, I just got lambasted by the larger Portland or Pacific Northwest community, whatever it was. Doesn't matter. But I just got lambasted for that. So went through quite a bit of work to figure out how we would extend the size of the event, and we did. Ended up being larger. So I've kind of followed that model since. Well, now that we're retracting I will likely go back. And, kind of going forward, if people don't get signed up in time, then they don't get signed up in time. And I think I'm just, I think part of my growth of being a TO through this is learning that, most people are happy and most people are content and happy that you're doing what you're doing. But the two people who aren't are going to be the loud ones. And then everybody else dogpiles on whether they have skin in the game or not, right? Another thing that was very interesting, and this was not disappointing because I get it and I understand why. So I'm going to be very clear about that. But we had aside from Teak and Steven, and probably forgetting someone else, but by and large, we have a Dice Commando community or Gongaii community of roughly 20-ish people, plus or minus, right, given the weeks and stuff. And we only had a couple of them sign up. By and large, they're burnt out. They're tired of everything just being so uber competitive, right? So why would they go to an event like this? Completely fair. No one's blaming that, but you take 10 to 15 of those folks out of the mix, and all of a sudden we're at 40, and you're that's looking like a respectable size event, right? So that's a very interesting learning as well. Now, like I said, my personal learning, I think overall, not just the tactics and kind of me emotionally moving past that and now knowing how to deal with that in the future. And again, I want to give a huge shout out to Scott, right? Scott was great, just kind of dealing with me, talking with him going into the week before. It's like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to manage this? What do you think? He was just a great sounding board. And again, he wants to partner with you to make the event successful, as opposed to just show up and get paid and do his thing. And again, he's just a great individual, right? So hire him, just not when I need him. Thanks. Love you. All right. So the big thing, like I said, for me was how fun this event was. And maybe for me, right? Because things were less stressful and all that. Like I said, I didn't stream. I decided not to. I was just too taxed after another week. And, there was more Discord stuff going on. And I just couldn't emotionally do it. So I wasn't doing that. Plus we had an extra judge, so I wasn't having to help. And I just got to enjoy the event. So I think there was a huge portion of that for me. Now, obviously there are costs associated with that and we get it. But we have a really good community, and the folks who came out and decided to come out to this had just a really good time. I mean, from my perception, right? I'm sure there's some people out there who didn't and stuff, and that's fair, right? You get your teeth kicked in for 5 rounds. I get it, right? But by and large, a lot of people came up, thanked, appreciated, all that stuff, and it really goes a long way, and I really felt good about it. So I think kind of my overall takeaway was it really just reminded me, which I really needed, why I do what I do, right? And whether folks out there at large or in the individual community agree with the way that I run my portion of the community or not, whether they like me or not, that's their prerogative, right? So, and it is, right? They can agree or disagree. I think one of the differences between me and a lot of people these days is I can disagree with you and not think you're a horrible person, right? And I think a lot of people can't make that distinction. It's like, well, if you disagree with me, you must be a bad person. And I get it. That's maybe a generational thing, I suppose. Yeah, I get it. But, if we can disagree and I don't think you're a bad person, right? But I will do what I think is right, especially by the large number of people who show up and help us have a good time like this, right? So, and just remind, it's one of those unfortunate realities of the world is that, very few people actually care about you or what you go through. They really only care about the end product or what they get in that exact moment at that exact time with how they view it at that exact time, right? And if they change their mind 6 months later, they're never going to go back and say, oh, maybe I was wrong, right? They'll never do that, right? So you can't control that, but what I can control are the people who I appreciate, the people who come to stuff like this and are awesome. And what I can do is go out of my way, double down on my efforts to make it better, right? Because when you find a community that cares about you and does appreciate that effort, you should do everything you can to keep them, right? So again, me having a good time and enjoying people having at least what I perceive to be a good time was really cathartic and helpful for me this last weekend to kind of pull me out of a tailspin, so to speak, and remind me why we're here. And I think it's kind of like maybe symbolic or whatever, fortuitous, whatever, that it came on the 5th anniversary, headed into this week is me doing this for 5 years. And I think kind of all that coming together at the same time was maybe a much needed kick in the rear for me. And I'll definitely be adjusting what we do for events going forward, kind of based on that, to try and get more of a community feel instead of just trying to make everybody happy. Because at the end, you can't make everybody happy, so you may as well make the people who are happy, right? That's my take. but we'll see. So anyway, like I said, I wanted to very much have a delineation between the two so that the folks who just wanted the tactics and try, I hope to get a deck list or two, which there were none, sorry. But you're already here past that, so you get it. So anyway, I'm going to end it. I'm rambling at this point. I've gone way too far, but I just wanted to share kind of my feelings on it. Had a great time this weekend because of the people there. So thank you for coming. Scott, again, thank you. Dice Commando folks, thank you. Thanks for watching, and go Commando.